right, well, we continue. Have you ever heard us say, God is in, through, and as you? Spirit is in, through, and as you? You ever wonder what that really means? Really means? Yeah. Today we're going to continue our discussion of the book by Ernest Holmes, The Basic Ideas of the Science of Mind. This is the book that Reverend Glenn and I are using this month as we bring sort of the basic principles of science of mind. It's a tradition in many of our centers where we either teach the first 4 chapters of the Science of Mind textbook, or last year we did the What You Believe principles, and now this year we're doing this book. I'm seeing people put their jackets on. Can we turn the AC up a couple of degrees, whoever is close by, please? Glenn? Would you do that for me? Thank you. Thank you. So, we are using that book, and today we're going to be talking about your spiritual DNA. Your spiritual DNA, that's our talk. And over the past 2 weeks, excuse me, we have talked about God, the one power, the one presence, universal mind, universal intelligence, and we've explored our relationship to this and how we've learned ways that we can influence our lives and our health and our finances to create that prosperous life that we've been talking about. And today we're going to explore this source, God. And we'll talk about the qualities of the divine. We're going to talk about the qualities of the divine that are inherent within each one of us. And we're going to learn ways that we can cultivate these qualities to achieve greater prosperity and successful living from the inside out. You up for that? Yeah, okay. Ernest Holmes tells us in the book, he says, each one of us is an outlet through which the activity of spirit may flow. Each one of us is an outlet through which the activity of spirit may flow. And this really is a basic idea of science of mind, isn't it? I've heard that before. It's a basic idea. And I think astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, you heard of him? Astrophysicist, pretty smart guy. He says, do you know that you are made of detritus, which is exploded stars? He says, if it bothers you, get over it. Better yet, celebrate it. After all, what nobler thought can one cherish than that the universe lives within us all? Now, he's a pretty smart guy, astrophysicist on the science side of things. And that's what we're talking about today, this one energy that exists, the energy of the universe, the basic building blocks of everything that is, and that includes us. We're included in everything. So it's the basic building block of who we are in that one. So let's go back to science for a minute. The University of Leicester says genes are the basic unit of genetics. Human beings have 20 to 25,000 genes. Did you know that? I did not know that. I bet you knew that. We do have a physician in the house. They only account for about 3% of our DNA. The function of the remaining 97% is still not clear. Although scientists think it may have something to do with controlling the genes. And genes, of course, are made of a chemical called DNA, which is stored in the nucleus of your cells. 97% of it, they don't know what it's for. Isn't that cool? The mystery continues. According to the December of 2002 issue of Science Journal, scientists have long recognized that despite physical differences, all human populations are genetically similar. All humans are 99.9% identical. Now, I shared that a couple of weeks ago as a way of demonstrating to us the fact that we are all one. There's only 1/10 of 1% that separates us and makes us unique from each other. 99.9% the same. That's kind of cool. So if we can begin to accept this scientific and spiritual truth, we can begin to accept that, would it be logical for us then to think that perhaps we have similar qualities of this universal mind, God's DNA, in that 99.9%? Basic Ideas of the Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes outlines 8 qualities of God, and he suggests that we each possess these 8 qualities. Whether we choose to express them, now that's up to us, right? How much we express or how little we express, that's up to us. So today we're going to look at those. Reverend Glenn and I are going to explore those 8 qualities that he says we all have inherent within us. And it was funny during the week as I'm writing out the talk and making my notes about God qualities. That's a lot of letters. So I started to abbreviate it with GQ. And then I had to laugh. GQ magazine, right? I got tickled about that. And if I was creative, Reverend Glenn suggested making a GQ cover with Ernest Holmes on it. But I'm sure Joe could have done that, but I didn't do it. But it was, so we may talk about GQs today as we move through our talk. But the 8 qualities that he tells us about are life, love, peace, creativity, wisdom, intelligence, joy, and beauty. And those 8 qualities are inherent within all humans. And again, the level of how much of those we express, how much we've cultivated those to express in our lives, is up to us. So let's look at life, the great mystery. We all have it. Sitting in this room, we're all alive. We all have life. But it's still somewhat of a mystery, isn't it? This thing called life. We talk about the still voice that we hear. We talk about that higher wisdom within us. And then we have all these other thoughts and things going on. That's all life too, isn't it? Life. And then we know science can keep us alive even if we have no brain function. The body's still alive. If you have a heart transplant or bypass, you're kept alive while your heart may not even be in your chest. But we're still alive. Ernest Holmes says that life is the animating principle of being. Life is the animating principle of being. That inner something that makes everything live. Life is the quality of being running through all, which enables anything to be what it is. And that kind of makes sense. Life in a plant allows it to be a plant. Life in you and me allows us to be us. I am experiencing this animated principle this morning, this principle of being, by standing here and expressing what I'm expressing to you as only I can. Nobody else can do it the way I can, right? Thank goodness in some cases. But that animating principle of life that is through all of us. So life is really the perfection of God expressing through its creation, through each and every one of us, as we choose individually to express it. So my question for you today is, are you living the perfection of God as life today? Are you living that perfection of life as God today, of God as life today? What represents a joyous life to you? The joy of living, of just being here on planet Earth. Do you still notice the little joys? Do you still experience the little joys of life as you move through your day? Yeah. Life is God as action through us in every moment. Life is God as action through us in every moment, every breath, every heartbeat. That's the activity of the one. Has there ever been a time in your life when you needed to know something, figure something out, get an answer, have a new idea, figure something out? Yeah, we face that, don't we? I see prayers frequently for clarity. I need clarity. I don't know what to do. I've been there. We've all been there, right? Well, Holmes suggests that we have access to universal spirit, all wisdom, all intelligence. and that it makes known to us everything we need to know in order to make a right decision, a correct choice, or a plan, or to create a plan. He says we need to convince ourselves that this infinite wisdom and intelligence is ours, and ask knowing that it responds immediately to our every request. We need to ask. Anybody ever gotten an idea out of the blue? It just came out of the blue. Oh my gosh, it was the most creative and wonderful thing. Out of the blue. Blue's another name for God, in case you didn't know. Right? Because that's where that comes from, isn't it? That's where that comes from. Out of the blue is the infinite mind responding to our desire, our request. That's where that all comes from. The answer, the clarity, the plan. Oh my gosh, that plan fell into place so well. I can't believe it. Believe it. Believe it, because you have access to that infinite intelligence. But unfortunately, we forget to ask, don't we? Instead, we stay over here and we stew and we struggle and we tell the story. Yeah, instead of just asking and listening and then taking inspired action on those responses that we get. Yeah. Well, I'm in the middle of a fun experience right now. I've been asked to help negotiate a split between two partners in one of our businesses. And unfortunately, it has gotten very unpleasant, downright ugly, and kind of like a bad divorce. Yeah, kind of a bad divorce. And so I sit in these meetings and I am in high watch. And I am praying constantly for the win-win solution, the divine idea. And it doesn't have to come through me. It can come through anybody in that room, right? Because not only are we having access to the infinite intelligence of what to say, but there's also the infinite wisdom of when to say it and who should be the message carrier. So it's been an interesting process, and tomorrow I get to be one of two mediators where one group is in one room, one group is in the other room, and we're going to go back and forth with the information. Prayers, please. So yes, I will be definitely in the higher realm of holding that high watch for knowing the win-win. Because in my humanness, I can't see the solution. I'm not bringing anything to the party. So I need the divine intelligence, the infinite wisdom, to come through me and everybody in the parties here. So I'll give you an update next week. So being an outlet through which spirit flows means that we ask, we listen, and we take that inspired action. And sometimes that wisdom is truly knowing when to speak, isn't it? Truly knowing when to speak. Wisdom, of course, involves an integration of knowledge, experience, and deep understanding. Deep understanding. So what do you know? How do you know it? When we live, move, and have our being in God, that universal intelligence and wisdom, we have access 24/7 to what we need. It's better than Google. 24/7 access. So what do you need to know today? What do you need to know? What's on your heart? What do you need to know today that you can simply go into the stillness and ask and listen? Where do you need to be that conduit through which spirit expresses to the benefit of somebody else? You may be their conduit today, right? Because it works that way too. It's not just about receiving for ourselves, but it can be receiving for others. And being that conduit through which spirit speaks. So with some more wisdom and intelligence to share this morning, I'm going to invite Reverend Glenn to come talk to us about your personality and some of those GQs of love, creativity, and peace.
GQ.
GQ.
Right. I was thinking earlier that term, out of the blue, is quite perfect. I have a blue shirt and she has a blue dress on. Out of the blue, there it is. I'm out of the blue today, here we go. It was not planned. Wow. Ernest Holmes used to have these philosophical discussions about personality and individuality. And one of these discussions he had with another philosopher actually was part of a book that came out some years ago. It was Dr. Holmes' theory. It's one that I subscribe to also, is that individuality comes first before personality. So individually, we're each individual, and there's no one completely the same. We're all very different. So, and this individuality comes from the Spirit of God, this God essence. And our personality is what we use in our what we use throughout life from this individuality. So the individual, we're part of this one divine whole, and our personality comes from our experiences and our beliefs and the things that we do in life. So that is our personality. And so through this personality, we can emerge from this and show to the world our gifts, these God qualities, these GQs, to make ourselves more successful and happier, and those around us even happier and even more successful. So the good personality sends forth these divine qualities out into the world. Ernest Holmes writes in the basic ideas, we need to constantly remind ourselves of the godlike qualities which lie within us by nature, and renew our daily persistent efforts to bring them up into manifestation in our lives. So in basic ideas, Holmes speaks of a personality that pays. Personality that pays. And what he means by this is that a personality that pays that in our finances or in our relationships. Holmes writes of what he calls a sterling personality. Have a sterling personality in your spiritual life, in your health, and your finances. So when we have a personality where we are one with the divine, we know that we come from this one divine essence, this one spirit. We are acknowledging our spiritual life. I think a couple weeks ago we talked about health here. Part of my talk was about health. So we know that we have, health comes from healthy thoughts, right? And then finances too. He writes that our personality is the secret to our abundance. How about that? Our personality is the secret to our abundance. And he said personality is the root of one's financial success. In the book, he actually gives an example, I believe, of Depression era, where a lot of people are losing their jobs. And they did some kind of study, I think it was in 1933 or 34, where the majority of people who were laid off in certain companies were not laid off because they they didn't have their work to do. It's because nobody wanted to be around them. They had bad personalities. There was a term about, I didn't want to use it, but when I was back in Nashville, Music Row, I used to work at Music Row, but there was a term we used in Nashville. Nobody wants to work with a squirrel. It's kind of the same thing, right? You want to be around nice people. And that's what Holmes is saying here. So let's take a look at some of these God qualities of creativity, peace, and love. You okay, Jill? You never heard that. So the universe is a continuous creative entity, and what is seen on the outside is first seen on the inside. And we are part of this creative force. This is what we do. Our thoughts create our world. Thoughts are things, as we say here. And all this thought comes to be, it's really based on our emotion and our convictions behind those beliefs. So whenever we create a poem or a song, or create something for our family or a piece of work, we are always creating, and it is this creativity that we are actually penetrating the divine mind when we do this at each and every time. And so, he writes that there's no substitute for creative thought. We are always creating, and we get the choice to say, are we creating something good for ourselves or something that's not so good for ourselves? I found a great picture of Albert Einstein, by the way. And he writes, creativity is intelligence having fun. Look at it. That's a great photo. I like that. Creativity is intelligence having fun. So when we are creating like this, It's like our own intelligence. This one being is having fun. It's doing cartwheels down the street, right? Had kind of a late night. I went to the Scottsdale Center or Scottsdale Performing Arts Center last night, and saw a guitarist named Tommy Emmanuel. And I have never seen anything like it. I've never heard anything like it. He's probably the best guitar player in the world. And when I was sitting there watching him, I was very close up front, and I was sitting there watching him. He was having this joyous time of creating. He played many of the songs that he wrote, and he would play these songs from the Beatles through his own arrangement, right? And he's just playing himself. He started playing guitar. He didn't know that there was a bass player in the band, so he started playing the bass and the strings at the same time. So he was playing the bass part also. It was a happy mistake that he made. He didn't know any better. So he found this way of playing the guitar that's different from anybody else. And that's creativity, even though it was he said it was kind of a fun mistake. That was creativity. So to watch him on stage last night create things was really amazing. I was thinking about this creativity that we're talking about now, and just do it right in front of us. And no show is the same that he puts on. So it was really, and I met him before the show, and he had a wonderful personality. He was a beautiful man, a wonderful personality, and somebody you would like to hang out with, right? So it's no wonder that he was very successful the way he is now. So that was a really good example of wonderful creativity. And also know that we can't create like this when we don't have peace within. And the second quality I want to talk about is peace. This morning I was driving here, I was talking about there was a 1960s term, but peace out. Remember that one? Peace out. And you can actually do, how about peace in, peace out? So we have peace within, we have peace without. Right? So if we're going to be creating things, it only stands to reason that if we don't have peaceful thoughts or peace on the inside, what we're going to produce and see and manifest in the world is going to be unpeaceful, correct? By the way, we need a lot of peace on the 101, by the way. It is wild out there. I don't know if people in there at Barrett Jackson, they're not at Barrett Jackson, all right? Every time I travel to 101 or I'm driving, I always try to take peaceful thoughts, not try to add to that chaos that I see some the people are in. So it really starts with us really being these peaceful beings and generating this peace within so we have a peaceful life and have other people around us being peaceful. Have you ever heard the guy Thich Nhat Hanh, who's the Vietnamese Buddhist? Beautiful guy. He writes that peace is something that we can cultivate in our daily lives. And this is what we're talking about, this moment, daily lives from one day to the other. Peace is something we can cultivate in our daily lives. It is possible to cultivate peace in every moment of our daily lives. While we walk, while we talk, and while we sit. I know that peace is made of two elements. Cultivating peace means cultivating understanding and cultivating compassion. Doesn't that sound great? So when we're sitting, when we're standing, when we're walking, when we're sleeping, we are creating peace within. And it stands to reason, too, that if we're kind of at war with ourselves inside, that we may outpicture that to the outside. Ernest Holmes writes, peace is the power at the heart of God. Nice way of putting it, isn't it? Peace is the power at the heart of God. So, I think if we are certainly more peaceful, and we are certainly naturally more loving beings. So another quality I want to talk about, and I have like 2 minutes, is love. We should be able to wrap that up pretty soon. Ernest Holmes said, love is the most misunderstood and misused word. We can say, hey, I love this chair that I'm sitting in. But do you like it? Do you love it? So you got into wonderful discussions about this also. What do we really love? But I know that love dissipates fear. It really, it breaks the shackles from who we are and sets us free, right? So, Ernest Holmes wrote, love is the lodestone of life, and is the feeling that must permeate everything we do and are. It must flow out from us to everyone we come in contact with. This is what we're saying is, as far as having this personality of being a loving person, that we transmit this out to other people, first for ourselves, because we love ourselves, and then transmit this out into other people. And this is, again, what Ernest Holmes called the sterling personality. He also talks a lot about interdependence. And I can see it actually here. So we're interdependent on other people when it comes to love. So we can love other people. I love the congregation here. I love the people here and the feeling here. So we're all interdependent on this loving feeling. It's not like a one-way road. We're all in this together. We're commingling these wonderful qualities together. So we have enough people coming together in this in a loving personality. You get the feeling like you have here, right? I love the feeling this year. I love the laughter we had from Margaret back to whatever she was laughing about. I don't know. I'll find out later. So love brings peace and harmony and joy to our lives. So it's really around creativity, being creative in our lives. We're always creating, so we're in a good place, and we'll create what we want to create in our world. And to do that, we must be peaceful within, and then we must love ourselves and love each other. Sounds pretty easy, right? I don't know 101. We can do this. I know we can. So I'm going to bring Jill back up to talk about more qualities, how we can recognize these qualities and make a better life for us all. Reverend Jill in the blue dress, come back up.
Thank you, Reverend Glenn. So Ernest Holmes suggests that we live life and allow love, wisdom, and peace as functions of our thinking, and that there is nothing to hinder Spirit's creative action in, through, and as us. When you recognize and express these qualities that you've always possessed, then you can use them creatively for a better life. So cultivating these qualities, the DNA of the divine that resides within each one of us, cultivating that through some practices that we're going to give you here in just a few minutes. And that's what we're talking about this year, isn't it? This idea of a year of prosperous living, this up-leveling our lives. We talked last week or a week before about how a year ago, January of 2017, where we were, and then where we ended the year, where we began 2018, and those new intentions that we've set for 2018, and who we be as individuals, as this community, in the past 12 months, how we've grown, how I've seen you grow, and the changes that have occurred and the up-leveling that occurred in your lives over 2017. I can't wait to see what happens in 18. So that's what we're doing with this, of cultivating this DNA within us, these spiritual qualities that we all have within us, to cultivate those to help us to create a better life, to use them creatively to create a better life. He tells us then that beauty and joy, the last two of those 8 qualities, are 2 of life's greatest attributes. 2 of life's greatest attributes. Beauty starts to shine through your life and make itself manifest because it flows from and is inherent in all those other qualities. So when you begin to experience love and life and peace and wisdom and intelligence, there's this out-picturing, if you will, this underlying benefit that begins to come forward of beauty and joy in our lives. Of beauty and joy. And Louise Hay, in the book that we're studying right now, The Power is Within You, she talks about that when she began to deepen in her spiritual studies and her spiritual practice, she said she became more beautiful. She said she became more youthful because of this underlying joy that is there. And what I've noticed in my own spiritual practice is that the deeper that I go and the more expansive that I am with it, the more my life seems to sit on this platform of joy. no matter what's going on, no matter how scary it gets, how crazy it gets, what the storms are that are all around me, there's this underlying joy of just knowing it's all okay. This is another opportunity. It's another step on the path. I am guided and guarded by the divine. I trust. I know. So that allows that platform of joy to be there for me. And it's available for each of us. It's available for each of us to expand through these qualities of the divine that we all have to then have this experience of joy and beauty in our life. So we experience these qualities of the divine not by searching outside of ourselves, but by recognizing them deep within us, because they are our spiritual DNA. So let's look at some of our principles this week and see how we can apply this all week and develop more prosperity in our own lives. Number 1 is to center yourself daily in the remembrance and the recognition that God is all, and you are of that one source. Daily practice. You hear it every week. You probably get tired of it. But centering yourself in that, if that's the only thing you do this year, is to really embody that idea that God is all there is and I am of that allness. If that's all you do this year, you will have an amazing life. You will have an amazing life. Number 2, make a list of all these God qualities, these GQs that we've talked about, and reflect on how each one of them shows up in your life. How you experience them today, and where you might need to grow and expand in your awareness of them, or in any one in particular. Maybe there's one particular area. Maybe you're not so peaceful on the 101. Maybe we need to think about that one a little bit and go deeper on it, right? Are you peaceful, creative, and loving? Do you notice the beauty? Is joy your underlying state of being? And I know for a lot of you in this room it is. I know that, and I do know there's more also. There's always more for us. Number 3, use that list and define each one of those for you. You heard Reverend Glenn and I talk about all 8 qualities today and what they are and what they mean. According to Ernest Holmes, what do they mean to you? Write down your own definitions of them. And then as you reflect on those, reflection, of course, creates understanding. And then understanding, you begin to embody. You've cultivated them now more to become a more bigger, that's not right, a larger part of your life and of your expression. So your practice this week is to take one quality per day and make, like word of the day, use it 100 times, right? Take this quality and use it. So Monday may be love. So everything you do Monday is focused on love. How am I being love? How am I experiencing love, expressing love, receiving love? Because we know what we focus on expands, right? So if we take one of those qualities for the next 8 days and then repeat until we begin to embody this. I think mine for tomorrow is going to be wisdom and intelligence. Probably some peace too. I may do 3 tomorrow. I'm an overachiever. What we focus on expands. And number 4, can we really improve our personality? Can we really have a winning personality, sterling personality? Bear in mind, this book was written back in the 50s, so he's using that terminology. And if you think about that, the Dale Carnegies and all those folks, that was the language that they used then. What do we hear today? Personal development. Tony Robbins. The Landmark Forum. All of those things, right? We've grown that teaching into new language and new words, but it still means the same thing, doesn't it? It still means the same thing. And we all know we've experienced people that don't necessarily have that winning personality, right? And we might have worked with them, and it wasn't pleasant. So that's what we're talking about. Personal development, attending the workshops and the books and the courses and so forth. And again, it's a basic idea of the science of mind. It's part of our teaching, the positivity, the optimistic outlook on life. And just using those things to achieve greater success in living. And if we recall that personality is defined by characteristics, behaviors, thoughts, and feelings, and those are the things we talk about. Change your beliefs. Change the beliefs and the thoughts that don't serve us. So we use the principles of the science of mind to change those beliefs, behaviors, feelings, and thoughts. Change your thinking, change your mind. You ever heard that? So I want to close this today with one last quote from the basic ideas of the science of mind. He says, if you are to live a highly successful and happy life, they want that? Highly successful and happy life, you need to be able to express your God qualities, which will produce experiences and conditions of success and happiness. Do you believe that? If you express those 8 qualities in your life on a regular basis, do you think you would experience more success, more happiness, more joy in your life? Yeah. Live these qualities. Declare your good, believe in it, and act accordingly. If you're trying to create more financial abundance in your life, don't act like a pauper. Right? Yeah. If you want more creativity in your life, do things that are creative. Expose yourself to creative things. Inspire yourself. Yeah. Well, that's it. Thank you for being with us, and I would invite you to anchor this in prayer with me this morning as we do an affirmative mind, spiritual mind treatment. There's one life, that life is God, and that life is our life now. A famous quote by Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind. Because we know that there's only one power, one presence, one mind, one infinite intelligence, and that we are of that, each and every one of us. As individualized and unique expressions of it, we are that stardust of the universe, the basic building blocks, that basic energy of all that is, that we are. And as we align ourselves and unify ourselves in that this morning, I speak my word for and about each one here today, knowing, claiming, and accepting the wholeness, the perfection, the divinity, and the intelligence, the wisdom, the love, the creativity, the peace, the life, the joy, and the beauty that each of us is, simply by the fact that we live. For we are the DNA of the divine. So I know this day that if anyone has anything on their heart that they're seeking extra prayer support around, if they need clarity, healing, something revealed, greater flow of abundance, whatever it may be, that as they bring that awareness into the forefront of their mind, that we lift that into this consciousness of this high prayer, knowing, claiming, and accepting the divine right answer, the healing, the revelation, the clarity, whatever is necessary, right here, right now. So it is with great, great gratitude and joy and thanksgiving that I release this into the activity of mind, into the activity of the law, knowing that it is already done, it is already so, and we simply await its manifestation in form. And we affirm this together by saying,